Welcome back to Creep World 4, everyone. This is going to be an informational session. I want to talk about mechanics that are not fully explained, or at least not completely explained, in the game within the Far Side Expedition or the Info tab. And I've talked about some of these before, but a lot of them I haven't. There's a lot of really good information on the wiki. There's some that you can glean from the editor, but I just sort of wanted to make an all-in-one explanation of things that players probably have to hunt for quite a bit to find otherwise. To start out with, I want to look at some of the user interface, because if you don't understand completely what the game is trying to display to you, then you're not really going to be able to make a good plan based on that information. So upper left, we have the energy display. This is vitally important, of course. You can see it's going negative here for the usage because that's higher than what we're generating. And this generation number includes this bonus here from the Earn Portal's energy collection. It's not 31 plus 10, it's 31 including 10. Then, of course, this is yellow or red based on whether you are using less or more than you're currently producing, storage. And then we've got the graph here showing green, the generation level, and then the yellow up and down in terms of how much we're using. Now, the icons here on what you can build have confused some people as well, because not everything is built with energy, but it's easy to assume that because most of them do require that early in the game. So we have energy for all of these and how much. That's how much to build. These are ammo or supply icons, so no ammo or supply required for miner, pylon, and tower, but these other three do require it. Then, of course, if you look at the weapons, sprayers and missiles require energy to produce, but you can use ARG and anti-creeper here. So it's not always going to be the same resource. And in fact, for example, shields produced by ARG, they are using ARG, they do not require energy at all. So very important to keep those differences in mind. What resources do you have? What resources do you need to build something, etc. The lower left here shows our current situation at whatever location your mouse happens to be over. And I'm going to demonstrate something here in a moment, so I'm just going to purposefully blow that missile up. We'll go ahead and put a new launcher here. But for example here, so we've got 5 terrain level, then 2.5, 2.6, then it just went down for a bit, etc. on the anti-creeper. And then it also says UPS 30. That's upgrades per second. That's how fast the simulation is actually currently running. And 30 is the optimal level unless you're speeding up, it'd be 60 or 120, etc. And then the 74, 73, 36, etc. That's just your XY grid coordinate, where you are. And there goes our missile launcher. This is an explosion in this middle area. And it'll tell us, okay, something destroyed there, and gives us the purplish pointer so you can see where that is and deal with whether or not that's a problem for you. So this is our overall creeper and anti-creeper levels in this center display. This is just the total that's on the map, and you've got the line for creeper and anti-creeper. Move to delta, this is how much it's changing. Up and down, up and down, up and down. Again, creeper and anti-creeper. Above the black line, obviously, is positive. Below it is negative. And then we have coverage. So 41% of the map, now 40, covered by creeper, and 12% by anti-creeper. Then over here on the right, the emitter mode, this can be confusing as well. First of all, this number corresponds to the average creeper per tile on the map. So currently, if it's above 3.5, the emitters will shut off and the breeders will no longer breed more creeper. But you can still get more creeper out of eggs. Stashes are still going to operate. Other things like that are going to continue. So it doesn't mean no creeper at all. It just means that the emitters and the breeder will stop, which is where most of it usually will come from. And if it's above that, they'll shut off. This shows, of course, our current level. We're almost there, but not quite. And also important to remember that maps can have this be off completely. There isn't always going to be a limit. There just is on the story missions and some of the other ones that people have made. So then down here, most of the stuff with the minimap is self-explanatory, but it's flashing red. These are flashing red because skimmers are about to activate. And we've got the different sizes that we can do for this if we wish. A lot of this, again, presents itself. But the recorder I want to hit again because this is used quite a bit on the Discord to try to explain this is how I defeated a particular map. And if you put it on, the speed and just fast forward, you can see where the towers were built out, what the energy situation was, when I started building weapons in various places, etc. And it can be very useful for understanding what happened in a map when you don't want to necessarily watch a full, long, drawn-out playthrough. Create video option, different options to affect quality, size of the file, how long it's going to run, all of that type of thing. Then the ADA log, again, pretty self-explanatory. And then there's all these visibility options. And these can be useful or not, depending on sort of your personal preference. Flatten AC. Well, if you're having trouble seeing your units underneath all of the anti-creeper, this can be useful. You can still tell it's there, but just barely. And then transparent creeper can also be useful. You want to see the terrain underneath. It's less of a visual blocker to seeing everything that's going on. Enemy outline, that's the red around each of the enemies that has not been nullified. So you can toggle that on and off. We'll come back to Eco Spike. Special terrain is like resource terrain, or breeder, or mesh. If you enhance that, simply makes it brighter, easier to see. Map indicator. I don't use this. But this is just gives you a straight down pointer to any location on the map. Maybe if you don't want to use top-down view and you want to specifically target orbitals or something, that could be useful there, but I would usually just switch the view. Paths. So, paths between all of our towers are on by default. So let's say we only want to see the ones that are currently carrying packets. That's what hide paths are for. Most of them go away. And then hover paths will show paths near any unit that you're nearby. Hover over them. And then after a few seconds, they will go ahead and disappear again. That's just the shaking of the camera when something gets destroyed. Then the C lines here are contour lines. You can see it particularly clearly here on the creeper. And then if we turn that off, it's just sort of a more natural look. Hiding the mist. That's where any creeper gets destroyed. You can see the puffs there, or does it when it's evaporating as well. Same thing over here. And if we go and hide that, then that will no longer be displayed. Explosions, pretty self-explanatory. Mesh will only hide if it's inactive. So this is all active, so it's not actually going to have any effect there. But the destroyed or inactive mesh. Shields we'll get to later. Hiding the interface. Almost all of it goes away except for this one. And then you can mouse over to bring it back. I personally don't prefer that, but it is an interesting option to use. And auto camera. This is the one where you set your particular angle or elevation, or actually just the angle that you're going to view, and then you go up and down the elevations, and it will stay there, as opposed to the normal mode where it sort of shifts as it goes up and down. Ever After is a good map to display a few other things. We're talking about the Eco Spike. That's for dead trees. There we go. And trees that are in Soylent will generate energy. So they're very useful for that. But in order for them to grow, they have to be in Soylent. They have to not have other units on top of them. They have to be free of creeper, because creeper can kill them. But on the other hand, you can see there's that green bonus, and it's going up quite quickly here as the trees grow. And they do take time to grow back. You can see it's not a case of, well, we've covered these in Soylent now, so they're just going to all grow back immediately. But over time, they will all grow if you have them in Soylent and clear of any creeper and clear of any of your units. So that's important to remember. They can be a huge advantage when you're starting off a map. If you have trees accessible, then you can get a big boost of energy from them. And then the shields, similarly, they just, they sort of flatten them out. You can still tell they're there, but they don't display that big dome, if you happen to prefer doing it that way. Now, Void also deserves some explanation. And what even is Void? Well, Void is parts of the map that are within the borders. See the borders out here, nothing can go out this way. This isn't even part of the map. But this in here is part of the map, but there's no land there. And that's what Void is. Now, Void has some special properties. I mean, Creeper can spread through it, as we can see, and it actually can spread onto the land from the Void. And visually, it looks like the Void is lower, but it's actually not. Look in the lower left. 2146, maximum height. Now, it's not displayed that height, because if you look here, I mean, it's height 10, land there. I mean, you wouldn't even be able to see anything else on the map if you displayed the Void that high. And it's not actual terrain. You can't build on it. But Creeper can spread through it, and it's actually, from a mechanics point of view, it's flowing down onto this land, not up. So that can be really confusing, but it's also worth noting that this does not always have to be that height. Like, if somebody's making a map, the height of the Void actually could be a different value. It could really change things up. So that's something you want to keep in mind, particularly if you're playing user-made custom maps. That could be a thing you run into once in a while. Crimson Creeper. Now, it is resistant to normal weapons, as we are told in the game, and the exact amount of that is 20% damage that they'll take from regular weapons. Full damage from anti-creeper, but 20% from everything else. But in addition to these crystals, there is also this Crimsonator here. You can see that in the lower left. And I mistook this at first for Crimson Breeder. That's not what it is. It just turns any creeper that flows over it into crimson. Now for Greenar and how to maximize your output here. The info tab does tell you don't build too close to it. The crystals are generated in this radius around it. But as I'm doing in this particular case, you definitely want to terraform that area flat if you want to max it as well, because it will not grow on cliffs. And so you've got all these little bits of terrain that it can't produce those crystals on. If you have everything completely flat within that radius, then you'll get the maximum amount of possible crystal generation, have enough refineries, and that's the way you want to optimize the output of Greenar and ultimately Liftic. And then the urns. The game does tell you that urns are used in the urn portal. It also tells you to put them in weapons. What it doesn't tell you is that you can use them in other things. You can use them in beacons. You can use them in refineries. You can use them in pylons. And miners are an excellent use of urns often, as they greatly boost their production, etc. So there are many things that you can use urns, and I plan on eventually probably doing a video just talking about exactly what the impacts of the urns are. But for our purposes here, just remember that you can use them in more things than just weapons in the portal. Priority build is also something that should be well understood. If we look at our Rift Lab here, we have the controls for priority build of towers and miners. What that means is if we're in energy deficit, doesn't change anything if we're not, but if we're in energy deficit, we will focus on one tower at a time, and then after that all the towers are up, we'll get miners. And it will not spread all of its packets out everywhere, but focus on efficiently building up our energy one structure. So if we take a look at where these go, see the initial spread went out everywhere. It went to this missile launcher. We got a little bit over here. But then once it used that up, now it's just focusing. Okay, now it's all going to come here until that's built. And then all it's going to come here until that's built. And then once it gets up over like 1.5 energy, then it'll say, okay, I've got enough. I'm going to split between two different towers. And so accelerating in that way is much more efficient than just spreading the packets out everywhere. That's what priority build or smart build is. Now, a couple other things to notice. If we were to deploy a new tower, for example, the slightly changing number here and then all of these little blue dots, those are all the tiles from which this tower would be able to deploy its Soylent and therefore gain energy. If we throw up, say, a Terp, this will show us, where it could be built and where it can't. Obviously not on the cliff there. Those white squares are the center of any legal placement locations. For weapons, they will also have a display of what their field of fire is. So for example, a sniper, if it's here, it can hit all of these areas in yellow, but down there, see there's this little bit here it can't hit due to line of sight, or if we put it over here, you can see that part north of the ridge that it can't hit due to line of sight. Mortars, again, there's their fire, cannons, etc. You know, they're limited in how far they can fire up or down, so it's not going to be able to angle down if it's too far back from the edge. Missiles have their circular field, and so on. Contaminated terrain, this red stuff right here, another special terrain type that does not show up in the Far Side Expedition. But what it does is you can't build on it. And you can't move on it. You basically can't do anything with it. It's sort of a no-go zone. And it is explained in the info tab how you deal with this, of course. You simply decontaminate it, like so, and wait for your terp to go to work, and away goes the contaminated terrain. Orbitals. Creeper World tells you how to get them, but not exactly what they do. And 3 of them are pretty obvious, 1 of them is not so much. Conversion will simply, turn the creeper into anti-creeper. Singularity sucks everything up towards one specific point, so we can see better if we come in down here. Rain, well, that's essentially orbital bombardment. There we go. Then there's damper. What damper does is it basically stops the creeper in place. Not completely, but it mostly stops motion for the same duration as the other ones have, which is almost 30 seconds. You can see the flow pattern is being disrupted in this area. And I should also mention that the recommended use of singularity and conversion is to combine them. The others don't combine nearly as effectively, but when you take the singularity, wait for it to build up for a while. After testing, 24 seconds is the optimal time. But then we just take this and, you get the biggest pile in one spot and then you convert it all. So it sort of gets the most out of those. It's not always fully self-evident what all of the objective types do as well. Nullify enemies, activate totems, plenty of those during the campaign. Then there's also Reclaim, which has confused some people. The Delegate, its only purpose is to activate and control the Reclaim objective. And what that means is you have to retake territory from the Creeper. It's measured by what is the greatest extent of the Creeper control at any point during the mission. Then you've got to hammer that back. The default value is 40%, so retaking 40% of whatever the most is the Creeper has controlled. And if you restrict the Creeper more early on in the mission, you have to reclaim less. But nonetheless, that's how that works. You get to that percent, whatever the map designer has set it as, and you get the reclaim objective. Then notice this Creeper plus plus up here. This is another mechanic that can be in place to escalate the amount of Creeper over the course of a mission. So see, this one is at 10 every half a second. And now it bumps up to 20 every half a second. And then for this particular one, nullifier fail is set at 10. Meaning if this level reaches 10 out of 100, then nullifier simply won't function. It'll be totally impossible to get the nullify enemy's objective. So that can be kind of an interesting one. Now, one of the ways in which this is sometimes used is in combination with hold. And what hold does is it requires you to not ever allow the creeper to take too many of these. And in this particular map, you need to hold on to 2 of them, because once you go past that, we'll just accelerate this forward until that happens, you will fail the objective. And it doesn't matter if you retake them. See, there we go. Objective lost. It doesn't matter if I would retake these now. We would still lose the hold objective because we didn't hold them, we just recaptured them. And if you have a map, for example, one of the suggestions they make is to combine hold with Creeper plus plus, and that way you can't just, perhaps just quickly nullify all of the emitters and just run out the clock on the hold objective and simply do nothing. If these nullifiers reach the point where the nullifiers fail, and if you say that you had that set to where they couldn't be nullified at all, and the creeper just kept escalating, then you would have a situation where you would have to actively be defending and fighting and not just running out the clock. So hopefully that should cover all of the mechanics that I'm aware of that are significant, weren't explained in the game. Let me know if you know of anything else that isn't explained or that you think should be covered more. And I'll be back with more Creeper World 4, another mission coming up this weekend. Thanks for watching.